And so, ladies and gentlemen, I want to get into this because J.D. Vance, he's been making his rounds this week, if you haven't noticed, and he hasn't been ducking any of the smoke. He went on The View already, walked straight into a 1v6 setup, and still handled himself well. You know they tried the race angle, the Trump smear, faith questions, and even the condescending family questions. Through it all, J.D. Vance stayed calm, stayed focused, and answered with facts instead of emotion. But now he's on Fox, and you got Jessica Tarlov. She got all in her feelings after Vance broke down what is really happening with this U.S.-Iran deal, because the media wants you to believe, you know, Trump's foreign policy is chaos. And I think Vance did a great job of actually breaking down what these terms look like. And, you know, Jessica didn't like that one bit. So as always, smash that thumbs up button. That's the best way to let me know you enjoy the content. Subscribe to stay locked in with future videos. Let's start right here.
Jessica, do you want to say thank you?
Thank you for being here. It's very, very cool to have you with us, especially when we're discussing this topic that you're running point on. And I'm a little uncomfortable about what I'm about to do, but I've been amping myself up all day.
Oh, no.
So, no, it's not going to
call the Secret Service.
No, they're already here, like 50 of you. You know, there's been leaked versions of this MOU, not just in the Iranian press, in the Saudi press, the Pakistani press. The American press has gotten their hands on some details as well. You know, the Wall Street Journal has it that Iran can immediately sell oil and that they're going to get some sanctions relief right off the bat. That was something that we heard was not going to happen. So they have an incentive to get this going by Friday, and there's going to be money changing hands. In the copies of the MOU that we've seen, again, leaked, we have this $300 billion fund. And I saw you last night, you were with Sean talking about it. He said, well, it's not our money. It's, you know, Gulf nation money, our partners' money, but that's still a $300 billion payday, and that's something that they desperately want to have. The punting on the nuclear program for the 60-day negotiation, you know, that's the real tough stuff of this, right? Like, that's the meat of what we really need to get done. And you say the JCPOA, you know, didn't have anything about that. It's in the preamble of the JCPOA that Iran will cease all efforts to have a nuclear weapon and enrichment will be held at about 3%.
Well, they can't enrich now because they can't get the dust, Jessica.
Also,
Barack Obama never buried it.
Well, the vice president is here. Don't interrupt me, and then it'll be over really fast.
Okay. I wasn't interrupting him. I was interrupting you.
I meant me. Be polite for our guest.
Okay, I'll try my best.
And, you know, people who are disappointed with this deal, and it's not just Democrats, it's the whole spectrum of Republicans, from, you know, MAGA America First Republicans to traditional neocon Republicans, who are concerned that it doesn't actually get rid of this ballistic missile program, the proxy forces, the regime change, which were the initial promises of this war. And I think also that big Axios report last night was meaningful, where they said that CIA Director Ratcliffe, Rubio, and Hegseth, based on American intelligence, were doubting the kind of results they thought we could get out of this deal.
Yeah, so Jessica, let me address a couple of things, because I think you're making the same mistake, unfortunately, that a lot of the Iranian propagandists make when they talk about this,
like
which
the
is
Wall Street Journal?
They talk about the benefits to the Iranians without any of the things the Iranians would have to give up and have to change in order to get those benefits. So you mentioned a $300 billion fund. I got to be very clear about this. Not a single cent of American money under any circumstance, no matter what the Iranians do, goes to Iran. Not a single cent of American money.
Other money.
Well, here's what this says. This says, for example, let's say that the United Arab Emirates, who have been a great ally, let's say they want to invest in a power plant in Iran. What this deal provides is that if the Iranians have done everything we require them to do, then we will allow the United Arab Emirates to do that, because they can't do that right now without American approval. So we're fundamentally saying if the Iranians transform how they interact with the world, we will transform how the world economy interacts with Iran. But if they don't do any of that stuff, they don't get any of these benefits. So I think all the Democrats who are saying, well, the Iranians get all these things, they don't get anything unless there's been a complete transformation of how Iran interacts with the world. That would be a huge win for America. And to Jesse's point, if they don't do any of these things, we don't give them anything, they don't receive anything, their nuclear program is still destroyed, their military is still destroyed, their missile program and industrial base is still destroyed. We fundamentally have transformed the Middle East. Whether they comply or not, this is just icing on the cake, assuming they do all the right things.
Can I just take a look? And then
Please.
Obviously it goes to Greg. So I guess two things. One, there's already been reporting that the Qataris have been paying off the Iranians to get them to.
I've seen the report, by the way, and we have a great relationship with the Qataris. It's just
no money has exchanged hands. Iran has not gotten a single dollar from any Gulf partners. Okay. And again, lots of criticism from the Republican side of this as well. It is a bipartisan concern.
And so basically what J.D. Vance is explaining to her is that Iran does not get to participate in the world and then pretend as if nothing happened. That's the part that they are trying to ignore. For any real economic activity, any real partnership, any real deal making in that region, Iran has to come to the table under American terms, not theirs or what the media wants to try to portray it to be. America's terms, that obviously the Trump administration that they're setting. And so right now we already kind of got a general idea of what that means. We'll learn more as time goes on, but we know mainly that means no nuclear weapons, most importantly. Inspections on that to make sure, that they're following the rules. And basically making it clear, listen, we're going to do business this way if you want access to the world. Now, if you don't want access to the world, then don't do business this way. But you cut off. And so listen, we want the U.S. to be safe. We don't want to be in a prolonged war. We don't want our allies to be in danger. And so it's going to be done a certain type of way. And so it's also the fact that their military has been decimated. Their leadership has been destroyed. And so the left doesn't want to hear that part because that's not the same situation even as a year ago. Definitely not under the Obama administration. You know, the media, the left, they don't want to hear that, but that is a huge win for the United States. I want to go ahead and jump into this next part because also a part of where you have Democrats who don't want to see the Trump administration have success when it comes to this Iran deal. Basically doesn't want to see America have success when it comes to this Iran deal. You got this poll recently that came out and it really was attached to the anti-Trump UFC 250 freedom that took place on the White House lawn, where you had Democrats hosting an anti-event, and you had Robert De Niro come out and he said a few things about how he's not proud to be American. He can't love this country right now, all because of the current administration. And then a poll came out kind of really speaking to how a majority of Democrats feel, where only 29% are very proud to be American. And so I want to get into that first, the poll, and then we're going to go back with some J.D. Vance, but let's check it out.
A new poll, NBC poll, shows that only 29% of Democrats feel proud to be Americans. That's compared to 90% of Republicans. I mean, just based on the reaction to America 250 events, I'm not surprised by this. What's your reaction to that?
I'm not surprised either. These are broken people that see Donald Trump in office, and thus they hate this entire country. We obviously, on the right, we had concerns, deep concerns about Joe Biden. We didn't like him very much. We still loved our country, and we thought it was worth fighting for. But instead, what we're getting, Chris, stop for a second. What we're dealing with right now, unfortunately, are people who are sad sacks, who are professionally miserable, who look for division. And one thing, since you like the World Cup, and I do too, I'm watching it, but one thing I'm also paying close attention to, are the European visitors in particular, who are coming here and they're falling in love with this country. And they're speaking about this country in ways that Democrats don't speak about in this country. They're coming here and they're enjoying our culture, our hospitality, our food, our entertainment. And they're actually singing praises while you're complaining about absolutely everything. You complain nonstop, and then rather than listen to the other side, you get all aggressive and progressive and start yelling over me, which is what you do every single week, which is why you keep losing these arguments.
2 years ago, when you asked Republicans, they felt the exact same way Democrats do now.
That's not true.
No, that is demonstrably false. That is, you are making that up.
Donald Trump, it's about the country.
So I think this is a very, very bad thing. And to make a bipartisan point here, the Republican VP trying to be bipartisan, I was raised by patriotic Union Democrats who maybe wouldn't have agreed with every single policy of a Republican administration, but they recognize that this is the greatest country in the world and every single one of us should be grateful to live here. And I think that is the fundamental problem. Greg, it doesn't bother me when congressional Democrats disagree with our policies. It bothers me that they're just terrible people, so many of them. But what really does bother me is that they don't show gratitude for the United States of America. Disagree with our policies, but if you don't feel grateful to live here and for the people who made it possible, then what are you even doing being in public service? Too many Democrats don't show appreciation for the country.
I like the point J.D. Vance was making right there. And I'm going to talk about this from the black community from black culture perspective, because I've had so many conversations with people in the black community, with folks in the black community, as far as their patriotism, how they feel about this country. And a conversation usually goes something like where they want to point out how, you know, they helped build this country, how they're the reason why this country is so great, because it was off the, you know, their ancestors' blood, sweat, tears, hard work, and determination that built this country, which, yes, is true. Black people, along with white people, they built this country together. It was a joint effort. It wasn't just one side doing all the work or another side doing all the work. People had positions, they played their positions that helped to build and develop and grow this country. And so on one end, you got that part of it. But then you also ask, well, are you proud of this country? Are you proud to be an American right now? And a lot of the times the answer will go into how they feel politically. It's always connected to their politics. And so what do I mean by that? Well, you ask them when it's a Democrat in office, then they're proud. They're like, yeah, I'm proud of this country. I see the progress that we're making. I see how things are moving forward. I see how much this country is changing for the better. Listen, I'll tell you one thing. When Obama was in office, when Obama became the president, you couldn't find a black person who was not proud to be an American. You couldn't find one. I was a part of the group. For the way I thought back then versus how obviously my thought process has changed now when it comes to a lot of things politically, I was very proud because based on the fact that Barack Obama was a black man becoming a president. And a majority, I'm pretty sure it was probably 95% of black people felt that way. But now, because the person in the White House doesn't align with them politically, when you speak to a lot of black people, they don't feel that way. They feel like, well, I can't be proud of this country because this country is racist. I can't be proud of this country because this country doesn't care about black people. And so like J.D. Vance was saying, for Democrats, and we know the black community they are the Democrat Party. 95% of black people vote Democrat. It all is based on, well, are the people who I voted for in power right now? That dictates my level of patriotism, how much I believe and love this country. And you can't have it like that. Can't just be when your team is winning that you love what this country is. But let's continue now. We got Scott Jennings on CNN, and they're talking about this. Take a listen.
You have to love your country, whether or not you lost the last election. I love America. And, you know, according to some polling that came out this weekend, most Republicans love America. 90% are very proud to be Americans. They're proud of living in this country. Unfortunately, I think Mr. De Niro's comments are pretty indicative of a majority of Democrats who can't seem to find that attitude, which I applaud, inside them to love your country, even though you lost the last election. And, you know, loving America, being a patriot for America, feeling good about America shouldn't be dictated by whether you won or lost. When I hear De Niro, I hear him saying, I can only love America if we win every election from here on out. That's a rather fascist statement.
I think he was really saying that I don't love an America that doesn't do the things that I think it should be doing. And look, I understand.
So would he think any Republican would do that?
Well, look, I mean, this is why I think.
But just add a little bit of numbers and data to Scott's numbers. Gallup polling data from 25 years ago says Republicans were 90% proud or extremely proud to be Americans. Democrats were 87%. Today, 25 years later, those numbers remain at 92%, actually up a little bit for Republicans. For Democrats, they're down to 36%. Robert De Niro's views are not out of step with the median Democrat.
Yeah, and so I'm going to leave it right here. I think a lot of people focus way too much on the party in office. And for some, it's because they want to be able to blame someone for things going wrong in their life. Economies have always shifted and changed. No matter who's in office, it goes up, it goes down. You know, things happen. But none of that should dictate whether or not you appreciate what this country is and everything that this country has been able to offer when it comes to the lives that we've all been able to have a choice that we can have. And so I'll leave it right there. You guys let me know your thoughts on this. Drop your comments down below. I appreciate when you guys chime in. Don't forget, you enjoy the content, smash that thumbs up. For more, subscribe to the channel. And as always, until next time.